The movie begins with people running from an attack as the TV displays an evacuation alert. In the background, we see chaos taking over the city. Among the rubble, a gigantic crater catches attention. Inside it is Mark, a man attempting to escape the turmoil, who ends up trapped down below. A rock is pressing against his leg, and he screams for help, but no one responds, as the city has been practically evacuated. Soon, he spots a metal bar, manages to grab it, and uses it to pull the phone that fell beside him. The man tries to call someone, but his calls are being forwarded to voicemail. He then discovers that all service lines are down, leaving Mark hopeless. At that moment, he feels strong tremors and again calls for help, but no one comes to his rescue. Mark turns on his phone's flashlight to try to map the area he is in. He eventually finds a tunnel underground but hears a fierce growl and decides it's best to turn off his phone's light. Mark decides to inform his wife about his situation. He tells her he was on his way to the school to pick up their daughters when the tremors started, and before he knew it, he was inside that hole. The situation he finds himself in is very complicated. In that moment, Mark feels a glimmer of hope as he hears the sound of a helicopter. However, his hopes are dashed when the aircraft crashes, causing an explosion that makes the crater begin to collapse. Quickly, the man uses the metal bar he had found to free himself from the rock and escape before being crushed by the debris. He runs to hide in the tunnel, but amidst the chaos, a piece of glass pierces him. Mark pulls a handkerchief from his pocket and puts it in his mouth, and with a lot of pain, he manages to remove the glass shard embedded in his skin. Upon checking the wound, he realizes it is more serious than he thought, and for a few seconds considers giving up. But when he looks at a photo of his daughters on the phone, he finds the strength to continue. He pulls a lighter from his pocket and uses it to light the unfamiliar place. He decides to explore the area to try to find an exit, and uses the metal bar to support himself due to the injury. During the journey, he notices bloodstains on the walls and realizes he may not be alone. Further ahead, he finds a backpack and decides to check it, and inside, he sees a photo of a little girl, possibly related to the blood he found. Among the items, he discovers a night vision camera and uses it to examine the rest of the tunnel when he notices a person at the end of the path. He approaches and finds a wounded and unconscious woman. When he touches her, she wakes up startled, shocked by her surroundings and by being awakened by an unknown man, and Mark asks if the backpack is hers. She grabs her belongings and searches for her water bottle, but realizes he has already drunk from it. Mark notices the woman has a leg injury and offers to help her, but there's no time as strong tremors return to shake the location, and they need to protect themselves before collapses or new dangers strike them. When Mark opens his eyes, he realizes the woman has run away and decides to chase after her, shouting. He finds her again, but she has a look of panic and asks him to be quiet, saying that if not, it will find them. He asks who she is talking about, but she insists that he stay silent. Mark, on his part, warns her that her leg is badly injured and needs treatment. He asks her to trust him and let him use his belt to stop the bleeding. She agrees and asks if he is a doctor. Mark reveals that his wife is the doctor and that he learned a few things from her. He finishes helping her and mentions that he has a phone, but the battery is running low and asks if she has one. The woman responds that she does, which makes Mark happy, but she explains that she had to leave it in the car due to the commotion. He becomes furious with the tremors, but she laughs and asks if he really believes it was an earthquake. Mark sincerely believes this, as that's what has been happening for the last few weeks. She asks if he hasn't seen that thing. The woman doesn't have time for explanations, as everything begins to shake again, and she goes into shock. Mark thinks someone is coming to rescue them and feels glad, but the woman screams that no one will help them because everyone is dead. She is terrified and tells him to be quiet. Mark doesn't understand what she is talking about. He tries to comprehend her situation and informs her they have to keep moving and asks if she can walk. She is able to move, and soon both begin to walk through the tunnel. Mark wants to go ahead to explore, but the woman doesn't trust him and says she knows what he is trying to do. Mark doesn't understand and asks about that. She reveals that he would go ahead and not return to help her, leaving her there to die. The man asserts he would never do that, and she explains that she has no reason to trust him. Mark reveals he saw the photo of her daughter in the wallet and shows her the photo of his children. The man explains that he just wants to get back to his children and asks if she doesn't want the same. He again asks to go ahead. She turns around and asks why he is calling her Sarah. He asks if that is not her name, as that was what he found in the document. She admits she ended up stealing it, and Mark does not judge her, stating they need to go ahead to find the exit. She disagrees again. but he reveals it was not a question and tries to push past her forcefully. The woman dislikes this and quickly strikes him, making him step back. He questions what she is doing, and then she pulls out a gun. Mark tells her she won't use it as it will make a huge noise, and the creature that frightens her will hear it. She tells him to shut up and states it's better to end both their lives, asking if he still wants to see his children. Mark answers yes, and she asks him to hand over his lighter. The woman tells him to keep moving, but to maintain a certain distance and not try anything. They advance, but a fierce growl erupts from behind, making them turn around immediately, and the woman, overcome with fear, puts out the lighter. Mark asks her to stop that and decides to turn on the light on his phone, while the woman is still in shock. She says they've been found, and he questions what the hell that was. In a more serious tone, she demands that he shuts up. The creature continues to approach, and Mark wants to illuminate to find out what it is, but she stops him and warns that it is dangerous. He asks her to stay calm and requests the night vision camera. He quickly uses it and searches for something, but can't find anything. Mark says everything is fine, but when he turns around, he finds the woman is no longer there, and the growling echoes again. He turns to check and, unable to see anything, continues, although the noises are getting louder. He finds the woman again, who is in a complete frenzy, and asks if the man saw anything. He answers that there is nothing there, and reveals he is more worried about the structure of the place. Fearing for his life, the woman rushes and says she needs to get out of there urgently. Mark asks if there's someone waiting for her, and she reveals that her brother Joe might be looking for her. They stop to rest and chat for a bit, but while doing so, the monster reappears. With no options, the duo must flee again while being pursued by something unknown. As they run, they trip and fall. She quickly turns on the lighter but cannot see due to the darkness. Mark asks for the camera to identify the creature and, this time, gets to see it. The creature starts to approach them again, and they quickly sneak through the tunnel, stopping when they think the creature got stuck. Then, the woman realizes she is out of her medication. Mark warns them that they've fallen behind and can't go back. He tries to calm her, stating they will get out of there, and she pretends to agree, but soon reveals her true intention, pulling out a gun and forcing him to return for the medication. With little choice, Mark returns and manages to find the medication, quickly coming back. When he returns with the medication, he is tired of being threatened all the time with that gun. He throws the medication against her chest, sits beside her, and asks what those things are. The woman can't give much information, but states they have been wandering around for a long time. With a trembling voice, she reveals that these creatures were responsible for her sister's death. She recounts that she caught her sister skipping school and decided to take her home. But during the way, they began to argue about it. Suddenly, one of the creatures appeared and hit the car. She blacked out, and upon waking, saw her sister being dragged out of the vehicle, unable to do anything but run. Mark deeply laments her loss and apologizes for his earlier attitude. The woman states there is no time for lamentations and orders him to continue following her in silence. Along the way, Mark breaks the silence and asks how she ended up there. She reveals that while running from the creatures, the ground beneath her feet gave way, and she ended up falling into that place. She explains that those things are huge and cannot understand how they managed to follow her there, nor how he managed to enter without even knowing about their existence. Mark answers that he thought it was nothing but earthquakes and that he was crossing the street when he heard a deafening noise. The only thing he remembers after that is waking up in that hole. At the end of the tunnel, they find a narrower passage. Mark thinks it's dangerous to enter there, but the woman sarcastically says it will be fun. Inside the passage, a problem arises. The lighter goes out, and they are left in the dark. She uses the night vision camera and asks for his cell phone to help with the light, but Mark refuses, stating the battery is running low and doesn't want to risk their only chance of escape. She argues that there are people waiting up top, or maybe they're already dead. Mark asks why she says that since they have survived thus far, and perhaps their families can too. Irritated, she responds that it will be great for him to reunite with his family and wife. Mark reveals that he is in the process of divorce, leaving her speechless. Shortly after, she sees a strong light at the end of the tunnel and feels happy, thinking they've reached the end. They crawl toward it, but discover it is just a flashlight. She begins to hyperventilate, but Mark calms her down, saying it's good since they now have more light. He tells her to keep going, and when she grabs the flashlight and illuminates the path, they discover a body covered by stones. They try to check if the man is alive, but find no pulse, and confirm he is dead. The woman rummages through his belongings and finds a knife she wants to keep, but Mark insists it should be his since she already has a weapon. She agrees, and while searching more, finds a canteen with drink and becomes excited. She takes a sip and offers it to Mark, who reveals he has been sober for 6 months, but acknowledges it will be useful. He uses the alcohol to treat his wound and urges her to keep moving forward. As they pass the body, the man grabs Mark's leg, screaming for help. The woman tells him to be quiet, but it's already too late, as the creature hears the noise and appears quickly. The duo is forced to run, leaving the man behind. In the process, the camera falls, and it is possible to see the monster killing him. They go back to grab the camera, and Mark realizes the creature is returning. They decide to proceed, but she cannot see, and despite her fear, uses the flashlight. She walks a bit but starts to cough, and Mark asks her to rest, but she refuses, terrified of the creature behind them. He insists, reminding her he has been pushing himself too hard and will help when they get out. The argument starts again as he insists on going ahead, but she refuses. She states that the only thing separating her from the creature is him, and Mark, feeling used, asks if he is just bait. She says he sought this out, but Mark reveals he is not going to die there and points the knife at her. As he attacks her, she pleads for her life and asks him to reconsider, but when he is about to kill her, a noise interrupts. Upon checking, they realize it was just a rat. They feel a momentary relief, but the creature reappears and kills the rat. They are terrified and quickly begin to run as the creature roars ferociously. During the rush, Mark gets caught and begs her to shoot, but she is in shock and cannot react. She picks up the abandoned camera, unsure of what to do, but doesn't want to go back, knowing he must be dead. As she moves forward, she feels something approaching, and with great fear decides to turn around. To her surprise, it is Mark who has managed to survive. She is happy and cannot believe how he did that. He responds that he only used the knife to kill the creature. She apologizes for not having done anything, but Mark says he doesn't want to talk about it. They walk a bit more and take a break. She takes the opportunity to collect some water from the sewer and again praises Mark for being able to kill the creature with just a knife, calling him brave. Mark comments that his children don't think so, and she asks why. He reveals there was a fire from which his wife and daughter escaped, and that it was up to him to save his son Michael. Mark recounts he managed to see his son's room but couldn't reach it due to the flames until the firefighters arrived and rescued him, taking him to the hospital. After that, he never had the courage to return home. He explains that this is why he has not drunk since, and blames himself for not helping his son back then. She considers all this nonsense, but he insists that staying away was the safest way to protect them. This irritates her even more, and she says his children need him and that he only hurts them by staying away. She tells him to stop making up excuses and go back to his family, as they need him. She also shares a sad story, and Mark holds her hand to support her. She feels a closeness from him, but quickly shifts the focus of the conversation. She decides to get more water from that pipe, but realizes blood leaking into the water and starts to feel sick about it. Again, the woman goes into shock, and Mark tells her she will survive this. She continues walking forward and discovers that the tunnel is a dead end, and becomes even more terrified. She asks what they will do, and Mark suggests turning back, but she says they cannot do that. In a desperate act, she asserts she will not go back and starts kicking the rocks, and Mark, without options, begins to kick as well. They manage to clear a path and find an underground sewer, where they discover another dead body. They find an exit above, but there is a metal grate and try to jump to reach it. Since both are injured, they cannot jump high. She asks him to help her up, but discovers that the grate is stuck. While looking for something to open it, they hear screams and gunfire outside and take advantage of the moment to shout for help. Soon, a soldier appears and asks how many people they are, and they reply they are just the two of them. She tells her colleague to fetch the winch and the first aid kit. He goes to get it while she stays behind to calm them. They celebrate knowing they will be rescued, but soon a new confrontation begins. The soldier shoots at the creatures, but is soon killed, and the duo is drenched in blood. The creature tries to attack them, and the woman is completely in shock, while Mark urges her to return to reality as they need to go back to the hole. She says she will not go into that hole, and Mark realizes the creatures are almost reaching them. To prevent them from entering the hole again, Mark breaks the entrance to a sewer, and they quickly slip in to escape. They find a completely submerged area, and Mark says he will dive to try to find an exit. He does this several times but cannot see under the water, and on a new attempt, he manages to find an exit. He tells her to hurry, but before going, she puts away the memory card from the camera, which has the photo of her deceased sister. She enters the water, and he explains that when she makes it to the other side, she should use the flashlight so he can find his way. Before they do this, he asks what her name is, and the woman reveals her name is Kate. She soon dives in and enters the hole, while Mark waits for her to cross, but soon hears the creatures approaching. She makes it across and illuminates the path, and he dives in right after, but ends up hitting a wall and loses his way. Just when he is about to pass out, Kate appears to guide him and manages to take him to the other side. He thanks her and asks what lies ahead, and she responds, "There are more tunnels." They see roots and a source of light coming from the bottom, and Mark says this is a good sign. They crawl towards it and discover that there is an exit, and they celebrate. Kate says that finally he will return to his family, and he replies that now it's just the two of them. They start to crawl over there, but new tremors begin, and a creature emerges ahead of them. It approaches but enters a hole. Kate is terrified, and Mark insists that she proceed, but she hears screams coming from the hole and goes into shock. With little choice, Kate advances and makes it to the other side, while Mark tries to do the same. He manages to cross but finds Kate unconscious, soon discovering that she has passed away due to her injuries. Kate is blocking the exit, and Mark does not know what to do as the tunnel is collapsing. We see that the hole below is infested with those creatures. He grabs Kate's belongings, and with the alcohol and the lighter in hand, he decides to cremate his companion's body. But we discover that all of that was just a thought, and Mark falls to the ground not knowing what to do. He opens his cell phone and sees a video where he is playing with his children and cries as he remembers those moments. He tries to talk to Kate and tells her how beautiful life is, and laments that he wasted his time away from family, expressing how much he misses them. He plans to take his own life, but when he tries to do it, he discovers the gun is out of bullets. He gets angry with Kate, but a glimmer of hope arises. His phone begins to receive messages, and he discovers they are from his wife. She reveals that she received his message and says she is very scared. She asks him to stop blaming himself for everything, tells him how much she loves him, and that his family needs him right now. Mark, now with renewed hope, decides to try to escape again. He sets off the alarm on his phone to attract the creatures and places it on Kate's leg. Soon the creature appears and drags Kate's body into the hole. Mark begins to approach and tries to pass to the other side, but a tremor nearly makes him fall into the creature's hole. He manages to crawl to the other side, but is grabbed by a creature and begins to be pulled by it. He grabs the alcohol and lighter and quickly uses them on the creature to kill it. Mark finally manages to get out, but we discover that the world outside is much worse, and thus the movie ends.